All right, hello everybody. So today we're gonna talk about goal setting. It's one of those things that has been coming up for me recently, and I was thinking, man, how much do I need a guidance on goal setting? So I did some research and made this presentation for you to hopefully kind of help you better understand how to make a good goal. And this is something that honestly I need as well in my life. And I just thought it'd be really great to not just like try to teach other people, but as I'm trying to teach other people, I think I'm also getting a better understanding of how goals can be made. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how you try to teach something, kind of you understand the gaps in your knowledge, and then you get better at it. So yeah, let's talk about goal setting today from the realm of high noon. So goal setting. So when I think about goal setting, I think about what it does for people. If you're feeling stuck or unmotivated or even just directionless, I think goals are often what can bring back that direction in your life. So I don't know if you've played video games a lot or even just regular games, sports, right? When you see progress, you feel fulfilled. And that's actually part of the divine principle is the three things you need to feel like true freedom. This isn't actually part of the talk, but it's one of my favorite parts of divine principle. But what it says is for you to feel like truly free, or there is no freedom without responsibility. That's the principle one. It's that there's no freedom without responsibility. Then there's no freedom without accomplishment. So that's number two. And lastly, but actually I think it comes first in the list, but I'm out of order here. But there's no freedom without principle. And so when you kind of relate this to sports or games, is that though there's no freedom without principle, is understanding that there's rules to the game. That and for in order for a basketball game to work, there needs to be rules, there needs to be boundaries, there needs to be a way to play. Or soccer, right? Just because FIFA is also just happening, which I'm actually not caught up on. Shoot. Then there's no freedom without responsibility, right? There's a role that you have to play within these boundaries, within these rules that you have to get good at. And then when you fulfill that responsibility, when you feel accomplishment. And so that's rule number three. When you feel accomplished, that's when like true freedom happens, right? And so like when anyone can just do whatever they want with no rules or no kind of clear standards, then it becomes so easy to like feel pointless. Like something is so pointless, right? I'm not doing like I don't want to do anything, or I'm not clear with what I want to do. And so basically, when you set a goal, you kind of understand whether if it's like clearly or subconsciously that these rules and these principles kind of apply, right? You set a goal, you kind of know the rules of the game, you know what you want to get into, and you're set on feeling accomplished, right? After fulfilling, and this is the goal, right? Your responsibility. All right. So next point here is becoming who you are meant to be. So when you can understand that this goal can help guide you into becoming who you are meant to be, I think it's a very clear distinction here because actually I'll explain it in a little bit. All right. Becoming who you're meant to be, right? We accomplish our goals and we become closer to who we would like to be. All right. And so I just want to remind you that the high noon standard is like purity is like a garden, okay? Just if you know what this means, right? Purity 1.0 is kind of don't, like an egg, and if you break it, it's broken and your purity is gone. But a better and more productive way of understanding purity is something that we build and maintain. So rather than like a scoring system where you start at 100 points of purity and then the more unpure things you do, you lose points, right? It doesn't yeah, it's like, and then we gradually just become more and more unpure. I think it goes contrary from, right, our understanding of God's desire to restoration of restoring humanity to the position back to where we were before the fall, right? Through the Messiah, right? Through this. So understanding that purity is a garden, that we introduce habits, we introduce behaviors that show our maturity, that show our purity, okay? So again, purity, so I just had, right, becoming who you're meant to be. I totally didn't even address this, but it takes daily practice, right? Daily practice is what kind of introduces the idea of actually building our character, building our habit, building our lifestyle. Purity is a garden, right? It's something that we have to maintain. And so purity, just like becoming the person we want to be, is exactly the same, right? It takes daily practice. And purity is a state of being that we can fall out of, but we can go back into, and we can develop ourselves to be pure. All right. And so goals help us maintain it. Direction and vision is what guides it. And so this is kind of what I wanted to get into here. All right. So when we think about purity, we can break down the human aspect into three parts: a pure mind, a pure heart, and a pure spirit. Okay. So when we think about a pure mind, we think about what it seeks, okay? What we desire, what we want. All right. So here I just have a few ideas. You may add to them in your own time or your own mind, but I think this is a good general list of what we can do. So of what the pure mind seeks and pure heart seeks, pure spirit. So pure mind seeks wisdom, opportunities, emotional understanding, and purpose. Then a pure heart, it seeks love, right? It seeks authentic connection. And then a pure spirit, it seeks goodness. And so this is like the action, this is serving, this is growth, right? Growth of our character. And of course, these are not like just mutually exclusive, like, opportunities could connect to, yeah, anyway, it's just, right? Pure mind seeks purpose, emotional understanding, so wisdom, intellect, seeks will, right? True will, and emotion, right? Pure heart, connection, and then pure spirit, growth and action. Okay? So without any of these things, it's hard to actually develop. Yeah. But here's the important thing, is that the important thing here is it's about seeking, okay? That we're not just like we have obtained wisdom, all right? We obtained love, and now that we're pure and that we're good, and then that's what makes us pure. Or like, it's actually about the journey. As cliche as that might sound, I think that is true, and I think like the direction that we go is highly, it determines kind of what people we're trying to be, right? And so that is kind of where I want to get into the next point, as it starts with a North Star goal. So High Noon has always been so big with North Star goals, right? Before each of our programs, at the end of each of our workshops, it's we need you to decide a North Star goal. And I was like grinding my gears trying to figure out what a North Star is. I was like asking different members of staff. I was asking like, what is a North Star goal? What does it mean? Because every time I facilitated a group, it was always so confusing. And if it was like me trying to figure out like how to explain it and like never really understanding it myself. And so as I was preparing for this talk, I was getting, I think I get it now. Okay. And so North Star and the North Star goal and regular goal are all different things. North Star goal, and like a regular goal are all different things. And it's kind of what comes into application here. So as you might want, do I want to explain this now or later? Okay, now. So there's this really interesting study that it showed pretty conclusive results where like these researchers were trying to understand what kind of praise and encouragement helped kids kind of develop confidence or what hindered confidence. And so basically what they did is that they took one group of kids, or they took a group of kids, they separated into two groups, and then the first group they praised based off of their character, like their like who they are based on like what they've done. Okay, and then the other group was praised just on their effort. Okay, and so basically this test, it was given to the kids. It was a really easy test, and the first group of kids, they were praised for being so smart. You are such a smart kid. Look at you getting 100% on this test. It was a really easy test. Okay. And then on the second group, it's like, wow, I see what you've done there. You're thinking really hard about these questions, right? They were praised on their effort. Then the second test comes around, and so this test was significantly harder, kind of beyond the level of these kids. And basically what ended up happening was the kids who were praised based off like them being smart, when they were taking this test and faced with questions that they didn't understand, they felt stupid and they didn't want to continue, right? Like they weren't able to live up to this expectation of them being smart because they were getting these questions wrong, and it significantly destroyed their confidence and like their desire to even learn. Okay, other group, they, when taking the test and when kind of like, anyway, basically they all did bad on the test, but the second group, they were still like kind of able to understand that I tried my best and I actually want to understand more. Right? Their confidence wasn't destroyed. They actually had greater confidence. And so I think this is where North Star goal can be a little bit tricky, and I just think it needs to be explicitly stated, right? That a lot of times the North Star is going to be what I'm going to explain soon, but it's like a vision statement. It's like I am like you're trying to imagine who you want to be, okay? But a common pitfall in that is like trying to phrase it in a sense that's like a present tense thing. Like I am someone who, this is a example that comes up a lot, but like I am someone who is like committed, right? I am someone who's committed, and then you fail in some commitment, and it's like, oh shoot, it kind of like becomes proof that you're not a committed person. But rather, it's better to focus. It's better to phrase the goal by like understanding that this is something you're becoming, right? Just like this last slide, it's something you're seeking. You're seeking wisdom. You're not quite wise yet, and you can always be wiser. You're not fully in love or fully have like a I don't know, like the greatest form of love, right? But you're seeking it. You want more of it, and you can always have greater love, right? You can be a good guy, but you can be greater, right? Be gooder, be, I don't know, better. Okay, something like that, right? I hope that makes sense. But it's better. It's something that I really wanted to convey very clearly. Okay, that this is not like something that you expect yourself to be right now, and then you just suddenly change your life. But I'll get into it. Okay, so your North Star. So this is all about trying to become closer to who you are, right? So connected to how you want to feel when you accomplish your goals. So when you accomplish your goals, like, did I become more closer to my ideal self? Something like that. Like, and if you can say yes and feel proud of that, you can feel really good. Like, I made significant progress, right? You're making actual like XP, experience points in your life, right? Okay. Then it's understanding that the direction is the identity that you want to create. So like your North Star, so imagine, right, an actual North Star, how the sailors before, all these navigation systems, they use the night sky, their North Stars, understanding that like this is a pinpoint thing that doesn't move, and I can trust that it doesn't move. And so even if I go off course, I can look at that and get back on course, okay? And so the direction is the identity you want to create. So it's like, this is who I want to be very clearly. I know who I want to be. And understanding the things that I'm doing today, right? It's either productive or it's not productive to getting closer to that North Star goal, or that North Star like vision, right? The direction is the identity you want to create. And then this is a direction that make your goals worth doing. I'll get a little bit into that later. It's like an internal compass, okay? All right, do my actions align with my vision? Okay, so I hope this makes sense so far. If it doesn't, leave a comment below. Yeah, so North Star isn't quite a goal, but you can have a North Star goal, which is aligned with that vision, right? The North Star vision, the North Star, okay, in your life. All right, so this is a reflection. So because it's a video, you can take a pause, listen to your favorite song. Okay, but these are kind of rhetorical questions just because they're really big ideas, but I will not stop you if you want to think about it. Okay, number one is, who do I want to become? Number two is, what would I do even if nobody noticed? So this is like internal, like this is, anyway. Okay, and number three, last one, is what is true about me on my best days? What do I really appreciate and respect and love about myself on my best days? Okay, when you can get clear with these things, it becomes kind of clearer, like what this vision of yourself that you want to do every day should be. Okay, and so I just wanted to understand that, right? Like the trajectory is the important thing. So what I said about the students and like the confidence thing, like the trajectory is really important, okay? So regular goal, okay, this is not a bad goal to have, right? Get a B in math. Okay, maybe you're always getting C's, but the thing is, it's motivated by the outcome, and motivated by the outcome of like getting the B, right? Like that's where the drive is, or getting an A, or I don't know, not failing, okay? But the thing is that as time goes on, it becomes harder and harder to maintain the motivation and maintain really like the purpose behind like, why am I getting a B? I can actually, like, because when things get hard, when rubber hits the road, these regular goals become like, it's not self-sustaining, right? Like it doesn't create the motivation. It relies on like internal motivation. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so regular goals don't create motivation inside of you, right? You have to be motivated, and then you can set this regular goal. Okay, that's the last point. I never even said it, but yeah, motivation is an external and it's fleeting. Motivation is external and it's fleeting. So understanding the difference, right? This North Star is becoming someone who follows through. So I want to become someone who follows through, right? So this is like doing your homework. Like, well, if I want to be someone who follows through, what does that mean, right? What does that look like? Well, that would probably mean I don't miss my homework, right? Or if I do miss my homework, then I go to my teacher and I apologize. I follow through in some way, okay? So it's not like just rooted in one thing, but there's a clear goal, and there's a clear like, am I being someone who follows through or not? And then what's gonna happen if I'm not? Then I can course correct. Okay. The thing about North Star is that there's no necessary finish line, right? It's meant to give you direction. And then if things change, like what I said with the previous example, right? If I miss my homework, then I'm going to follow through in some other way with my teacher, right? Even if I fail in some way, it's still like I'm becoming, right? It's not like doing anything. Then motivation, it comes internally with this North Star, right? It's who it makes me, and that motivation is internal, and it actually can grow, and because you're very clear with who you want to be. Okay, so this is the more serious reflection here, and this is kind of what I want you to kind of take out a notebook or put a document. I really like written reflection, not typed. So if you have a notebook, yeah, please, let's do this. Okay, so let's do this meeting, right? Do it on your notebook. All right, the first question is, what's something in your life right now that feels harder than it should be? And I just wanted to say that all these questions will be on a slide that you can pause. They'll be all there. Okay, what's something in your life right now that feels harder than it should be? When you imagine the person you want to become, what is that person doing differently than you are today? What do you keep telling yourself you'll fix later but never do? And what's one thing that if it changed would make everything else feel more possible? All right, so there's these questions. And so this is just peeling back the layers and the deepness of like what kind of person you want to be, right? But what's something in your life right now that feels harder than it should be? Whether that's doing your homework, going to sleep on time, or if it's sexual integrity, right? Why is like, I don't know. I relate to a lot to that feeling. Why do I go back to this sexual integrity? Like, why do I go back to slipping up and gooning every day, right? Why is this so hard for me, right? If you think about it, actually, that's a really great question, because you get to go deeper into like what it is that's actually like hard. Like, why is it even hard in the first place? Same thing with going to sleep early. Why is it hard in the first place? And you don't have to think about that right now, but like what feels harder than it should be, okay? When you imagine the person you want to become, what is that person doing differently than you are today? I think this kind of guides you on what actions you're going to be changing in correspondence to what your North Star is versus like what isn't there right now. Number 3 is, what do you keep telling yourself you'll fix and never do? This is kind of like an additional question. Yeah, I like it. And what's one thing that if it changed would make everything else feel more possible? Okay. And so this is more of an internal like attitude shift, not just like an external, like, yeah, sure. Okay. If you had more money, then things would feel more possible. But like something has to change internally. Okay. Something has to happen internally for you to do that. And so we want to think more internal basis here. Oh, like if I had more money, then obviously like things would be a bit easier. It's like, that's not actually necessarily the case. Anyway, let's take a moment to reflect on that. And then we're almost here, 40 minutes. God bless you guys. So this is the last point here, is the weekly reflection points. And so this is like something that's going to maintain, right, your garden. And if you're not watering your garden, honestly, every day, and especially not every week, then your garden is not going to die, or it's not going to do well, and it's going to die. So weekly reflection points, I think weekly is good. Daily is also good. Maybe just like one of these points, like what am I grateful for is a great daily thing. But as for weekly, yeah, let's just go through this together. What worked this week for me to becoming my best self? So what worked? What made it harder for me to walk in that right direction? What got in the way? What didn't work, right? And then, do you want to do something about it? I think it's really great to be honest about if you want to do something about it. If you do want to do something about it, why, right? Like, because how does it feel when you actually achieve that? And then if you don't want to do something about it, why not? What is that thing serving you, even if it's not going in the right direction of your North Star goal? I think it's an amazing thing to be honest about, because it requires a lot of honesty with yourself. And that is a huge thing to be able to practice. It's massive to be able to do that. And then number 3 is, what am I grateful for? And what's one thing that I'm proud of? I think that second part is related to the first question, like what worked for me, but like what's one thing that you're proud of, like some change that you're making. Yeah, what am I grateful for? And then if you're gonna do this on a daily, I think same questions. Honestly, it's like, what worked today? What didn't work today? And weekly wouldn't, it would be like a more general trend. But what's really important about doing these reflections is that you can actually see like what is becoming harder and what's becoming easier, and like what's getting in the way versus like what's like as time is going on, these things that are getting in the way, they're getting like less difficult. They're getting less in the way. So I think it's really sick. Yeah, so that's all I have for you guys. I really hope that you can make a goal out of this, and yeah, I wanted to take just this moment because yeah, this is originally a Discord event, and I just wanted to share this with you as yeah, like to reach as many people as possible. And that's all I have. So thank you so much. Good luck. I want you to make the best North Star possible and goals that are aligned with that. And I hope that motivates you to be like the best version of you that you can be. All right. Peace out. How do I end this?